Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Detention here at the Endurance School. As happens every month or so, no other ne'er-do-wells come along, and Molly and I have to shoot shit for about an hour here in detention as we wait for the late bus. So tonight we are going to talk about this concept called fitness. But as always, we got to reel off some time here. So Molly, now that we're here in detention, what's going on? What's happening in your world?
Well, the biggest thing that's happening in my world right now is that I have been like hardcore insanely crabby all day, and I'm really just trying to to manage that. I have put in a couple of weeks of pretty solid training, which I'm very pumped about. But I am definitely I'm feeling the tireds. I'm feeling the tireds.
So
Um,
on that, we always ask athletes: diet, sleep, mood, stress. Mood, and stress. Those are the two flashing lights that are up right now.
it's not even stress. It's like rage. It's like a borderline simmering like put some ice cream on that rage. Like
So it's not two warning lights, but one of them is all the way up. It's like it's never going off.
100% accurate.
Got it.
100% accurate. Yes, that is
Been there.
exactly what's happening. How about you? What's going on with you?
Let's see. I have. It's been a crabby day for sure. There's a lot of news that is suboptimal, I would say. But welcome to the last 15 months. Uh, I am. I'm pretty stoked. Virtual Berkey wrapped up a couple days ago, and I'm still really happy with how that went. So that's definitely that's keeping the mood thing afloat for me.
The mood
At this
balloon. The mood balloon is
mood
floating
balloon,
because of
nice.
Berkey. I have to give
Yeah.
you a giant congratulations on that, Chris Bag. I know that that you have worked super, super hard on that, and I know that this is kind of a new world for you. That there are skills that you're still developing, and some of those skills were hard earned, especially through some double pulling through the wet streets of Portland. A couple of bruises and some skin has been given up to that game, but huge congratulations, Chris. Tell us a little bit about how your day was.
It was great. After rescheduling, I had originally planned to go up to Teacup Nordic, which is on the slopes of Mount Hood. Originally, I planned to do Saturday morning. Uh, there was a winter storm warning and an avalanche warning for the area until 8 a.m. on Saturday. I don't even think I could have gotten up there. The roads were apparently terrible, and it was just crazy. So pushed it back to Sunday and just absolutely lucked out. Beautiful weather, really good snow until the final lap when things started to warm up and the snow was slowing down as I was slowing down. um, which is I don't know. I guess in triathlon terms, it's like you hit the second loop of the Ironman and you get a headwind for the second half of the run.
Oof.
Um, but like not in any like horrible kind of way. So yeah, goal was 241 for 43 kilometers. I ended up with like 238 and a half. So really stoked on that. The thing I'm most stoked about is that it was like roughly the same pace as the real Berkey last year and like roughly similar terrain, and my heart rate was about 10 beats per minute lower for the entire time. Which that kind of gets us into our topic for tonight, but we got some other stuff to talk about before that.
What kind of stuff do we have to talk about, Chris?
Well, first of all, you've got a race coming up this weekend.
We
You are
both do.
doing We do, but we just talked about my race.
Oh.
So you've got the Shasta Gravel Hugger coming up, the 100-kilometer race on
Mm-hmm.
Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
What's going through your mind about that?
Well, some fear, some doubt, probably, and a lot of excitement. I have to say, this is going to be not only my first gravel race, but I think this is actually my first it's kind of my first bike race, kind of. I've done a couple of races in Skinny Atlas, New York, up in the Finger Lakes. It's spelled just like it sounds, and that that was part of a series called I'm All That, which was a triathlon weekend where you do like a mile long swim where you jump off of a boat and then you do like a bike, like climb up a hill, and then you do like a 5K run, and then you do a sprint triathlon, and they add up all the times, and whoever wins gets like a bunch of pint glasses. This guy right
That
here.
sounds amazing.
I have some pint glasses. I'm not gonna lie to you. Yeah.
You won the I'm All That.
I'm all that.
Is the naming convention, were they basically trying to like suggest that like all you were able to do all of those things?
It was like a long time ago. So it was like 12 or 13 years ago. So like it was like I'm all that. Like it was a saying that people said. It was topical, it was timely. I was all that. I don't think I am anymore, but I was then. I was then. But there was a bike race called the Coon Hill Grind that went up Coon Hill, and it was really, really hard, and I did it as fast as I could. But that's pretty much like the extent of my bike racing experience. I never got into cyclocross because I'm really scared of falling down. And also I can only ride bikes on roads. It's the only thing that I'm able to do with them. I've tried to be on a mountain bike a couple of times and I've fallen down every single time. Because the ground moves underneath you when you're on your bicycle. And like, I find that really hard to navigate. So gravel biking has been new to me in the last couple of years, but I like it because it's not as technical as mountain biking. Like you just kind of ride your bicycle and you get better at it slowly, I've found, as with many things we do. So I'm really excited to like take my bike out and ride it as fast as I feel comfortable. And so in preparation for that, I went to Forest Park and I rode Leif Erikson as like trying to be brave as my goal. I did that over the weekend. That was really fun. And I was 13 minutes faster going up that hill. That's the difference between me scared and me trying to be brave.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's like one of those things where, you know, when you're like that upslope of fitness, when it's like a thing that you haven't done before is such like a dramatic upslope. It's so much fun.
And confidence too. I think confidence, like, cause I've trained on the bicycle. Like I'm a triathlete. I've done Ironman. I've done more halves than fulls, but like I've ridden some bikes before, but it's a whole different ballgame. When there's mud and trees and, you know, ditches.
Things like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what's going on in our world. We always talk about a little bit of triathlon news as we hang out in detention before we get to our main topic. All right, Molly. So here's the cognitive dissonance for this week. Challenge Miami is on, but Ironman New Zealand is not. Thoughts and comments?
So I think that this sends a very confusing message to all of us athletes. Are things happening if they say they're happening? Are they not happening if they don't say they're happening? Like, in general, I think if something is canceled, you can pretty much like trust that that's not going to happen. But this definitely does make it a little bit, you know, Ironman New Zealand was in 6 days. So like this definitely does make it, I think a little bit less clear sort of how things are going to progress. I think that it's showing that they're going to be more location dependent, because New Zealand has been very like, you know, we're locking down and not allowing any new people in because we've had an uptick in cases. They're at 12 now, I think. And so I think it's very different. And I think that it's definitely going to throw a little bit more uncertainty into the next couple of weeks because we have so many races that are starting to like really get close and like really like race day is showing up for a lot of people. And at least for me, it's changed some of my feelings about like, is that going to happen? I don't know. Probably. Is it? I don't know.
Right.
Not in New Zealand.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I mean, the 6 day, first of all, like kudos to New Zealand for handling this pandemic responsibly. It's still hugely disappointing for all the athletes, but I mean, it is really nice to see like, okay, yeah, that is a really mature response and a tough decision to make. And I think that it's the right decision, but yeah, like you just said, it's like, it's it really throws a lot of the rest of the schedule into this place of like, oh, like we really don't know what's going to happen this week.
And people were certainly there. Like for a race like that, where you have to acclimate to a different season, a different time zone, like I would guess many athletes are already in New Zealand.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, yeah, I mean, it's your heart goes out to them for sure. But you know, like there's a reason why New Zealand is the safest place in the world right now, because they're committed to fixing the problem.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, Florida continues to be a location that is willing to put on races. PTO seemed to do a good job with it last December. I think that if anybody did get sick from it, they probably weren't going to come out and say that they got it there. So who knows, like the degree of success that they actually had, but you know, they do seem to have proved that they can put on a safe race.
Absolutely. I completely agree. Yeah.
So in light of the changing calendar, and the fact that we're never quite sure anymore, like when we're going to be racing, and what that's going to look like. We're going to talk about fitness tonight, and we know that it's hard to stay motivated when the calendar is like changing all the time. But the reason we wanted to talk about this was because it's a tracking or understanding your fitness is a way to maintain your motivation, because you're working for something that's already yours rather than something that you just like get from an event. And so that's the reason that we were going to talk through this tonight. But to get us started, like, Molly, what the hell is fitness anyway?
That's a very good question, Chris. I think that we were talking a little bit beforehand, that fitness is like, it's technically how well you fit into a certain box. That like the idea of fitness is only as important as you can get specific about what you're trying to be fit for. Like if we're talking about fitness in terms of like overall health, it gets a lot more gray area and dicey. Like what exactly are we working on and what are the goals that we're trying to track down and achieve? Like, you know, we have built up a significant amount of fitness in the sport, and that will carry over from season to season. But like measuring fitness for a certain event and for the achievement of certain goals is probably the more important thing than like, you know, how fit are you? Like how many times does your heart beat throughout the day? It's not necessarily going to have a big impact on your race if you haven't been training for your race specifically.
Okay, so a big part of it, what I'm getting from you is that a big part of fitness is dependent on what you and your coach or you and your training diary have kind of set out as the goal for the year.
Yeah, I think that is exactly right. And I think that one of the big like traps that people fall into is that they look at their fitness and they think about like, as a fit person, I should now be well able to execute in any different arena, where like, you know, we see this a lot with people who get distracted by smaller goals or get distracted by smaller indicators of fitness or previous indicators of fitness and lose sight of the larger picture of what it is that they're training for. Yeah, I think that getting as specific as you possibly can is absolutely like the most important thing that you can do to set yourself up for like success in this sport this year.
What are some things that we're seeing, especially here in this early season, in terms of like distractions that people are succumbing to?
I feel like there should be a drinking game for like every time we mention Swift racing, but I think that that is one. We do see folks kind of getting distracted by testing and by other races, like other distractions, like things that can help to keep you motivated, but aren't necessarily the larger goal. So, you know, when we think about Swift racing, I think that, you know, you're developing a very specific kind of fitness for that type of event. And if you are primarily a short course athlete, that racing may actually get a bit more specific for you. But for those of our athletes who are training for 70.3 races and Ironman races, it's not necessarily in service of the larger goal. So you may be quite fit at that event, but is it moving your fitness in the direction of success in the event that you've chosen and the event that you have, that your big goal is tracking down?
Yeah, that's such a good point. Like because they're so intense, but they're relatively short, like 40 to 60 minutes a lot of the
Mm-hmm.
time. Um, I think I don't know if you've seen this with your athletes, but they got like the first few times were like real rough. And then they've gotten more and more, they're starting to accommodate it.
Mm-hmm.
And but the problem is like the races continue to be 40 to 60 minutes long.
Mm-hmm.
And so they are basically just now they're not even like building Zwift racing fitness, they're just reflecting it.
Yes.
And they're no longer challenging that like that like extensive period that they need for like their 70.3 or their Ironman.
And it's almost like the more you do something, the better you're fit for it.
Right.
It's weird.
That law of accommodation, that's just such a bitch.
It's so weird. Fancy that. But we have a lot of folks who are getting out of Zwift racing right now. And actually, Chris, I feel like your experience with Berkey may be a really good, maybe a good anecdote to draw on for this. So you had Berkey was your big goal for the early part of the season. It's what you've been training for, and you have adjusted your triathlon training calendar to accommodate significantly more cross-country skiing and roller skiing and falling into manholes. So you also have a race in 6 days now. Tell us what that means for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think you and I were sort of casting around for like what would be the worst possible thing to have chosen. And the two things we came up with were like if I had said I want to do Berkey and then a marathon on Saturday, like not good. Like sure, like rough time frame is similar, but like the muscular contractions are opposite.
Mm-hmm.
like and cross country skiing, like the heart rate is just, for a distance cross country ski, it's not really like intense enough, which is weird because cross country skiing can be super intense. But you can do a marathon, I probably would be in the like high 150s, low 160s beats per minute. So we're not in the same ballpark intensity wise. And then the other thing that you and I said that would be really bad would be a criterium.
Yes.
Like a 60-minute, incredibly high intensity, incredibly high RPM, very snappy, surgy bike race. And the reason that we looked around for like what would be bad is because like the thing that you just said, right? Where you were like, people tend to think about fitness as like, oh, if I get fit, I'm fit for everything. Whereas like, it's probably, I go to like Russian nesting dolls, but I'm sure there's a mathematical term of like sets and subsets.
I think Russian nesting dolls is a mathematical term.
Thanks. Okay, perfect. Yeah, that's where like, a gravel race can fit inside of like long distance cross country ski training, but like it certainly can't accommodate, a long eccentric running race or a like really high intense cycling race. So like I think that a lot of time people think that like, oh, I'm fit, I can like cram events into a short period of time, but really the only reason that this is going to work is that like actually they're pretty similar to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good point. And just a note from chat, Kirby, I know that you're starting a new race series, and I think that what we're talking about now isn't necessarily that people shouldn't be Zwift racing, but recognizing that like your goals for certain events, like your performance in an event that you're not training for, isn't necessarily going to be indicative of your performance of an event that you are training for. So for what we're talking about with Chris right now, how does your thinking how is your thinking impacted about like what your goals are for this weekend at Shasta, which is a 100-mile gravel race for you? Now that you're coming off of a season where your focus event was just a few days ago.
Right. Yeah, that's a good question. It's hard because I think with every athlete, and I think a lot of athletes are juggling this right now, there's some competing demands of like social interaction, um, like can I do that? Like newness and like stimulation, and then bigger picture goals. Um, like my bigger picture goals for the year certainly include some longer distance gravel racing, um, but those goals cannot come into play for this weekend. Like I have a few different sets of goals for this weekend. You know, there's sort of a like there's like a magical day set of goals, and then like a more realistic sense of like, you know, I'm really looking forward to seeing a bunch of my friends, like people that I haven't gotten to race bikes with in a long time. um, just the ability to like go and turn the cranks in anger, like haven't gotten to do like a mass start bike race in I can't remember. I mean, yeah, I mean Cedar City, but like and so yeah, I guess it's since mid-October. um so what I'm hoping is that like the fitness from Berkey translates into a a strong and manageable day on the bike, where I don't just run out of gas. That's going to be contingent upon me behaving myself early in the race, which is very likely going to be snappy.
Mm-hmm. I think that's exactly right. And I think that you can expect that a fair amount of your Berkey fitness is going to translate into your gravel race. And Jenny, I actually think that's your question about what would be similar to running. Like, I think cross country skiing is something that translates to both running and biking. So I think this is going to be a fit person who may not necessarily have the bike miles, but you do have a fair amount of bike miles too. But it's just, I think you have to be a little bit more like gentle on your expectations of yourself, not knowing 100% what you're carrying into a race that wasn't your focus of this season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, and then this is one of those things about like historic fitness that helps, is that like after a certain number of years of doing stuff, you do build up a kind of historic base of fitness.
Mm-hmm.
It's not always there, you know. If you take a year off, like a lot of it goes away.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a year, and it would be a year of like being sedentary. So yeah, I think that at the end of the day, it's probably going to be really fun. And that's Berkey was sort of my like performance goal for the spring. Shasta is about like I mean, really, I just want to go ride my bike with my friends.
Yeah. I think that's the best goal to have going into a race like that.
Yeah. um let's see, we had I think there was, oh yeah, like another so Molly, what's this thing called B-race myopia?
This is one that bums me out all the time. So I think that, it's a great idea to like dust off the cobwebs as you're training for a race, especially if you've taken some time off. If you haven't raced since a year ago or now a year and a half ago, if you have a big race this year and one that you're putting a lot of expectations and hopes and you know, dreams on, do another race beforehand. Like shake some of those cobwebs off. Remember what it feels like to get up early in the morning and like go to town on a bunch of applesauce and like just like eat all those pancakes the day before and find where your race belt is and like figure out like how to get your bike somewhere again. Like do all of that stuff that takes so many steps and like so much mental space. And practice that with another race, with a B race. And I'm not a huge fan of people entering races that they don't intend to race. Like if you're going to sign up for it and you're paying the money and you're towing the start line, like I want people to be at least somewhat recovered and ready to like rock and roll and see where they're at. But I think that for a lot of people who are training for a big race and have another race along the way, they can get bummed out because I see this a lot with somebody doing a 70.3 5 weeks out from their Ironman. Like, in fact, I did it myself 5 weeks out from an Ironman. I crossed the finish at Rev 3 Quasi in Connecticut. Oh my God, so hard. And I just cried. I was like, I can't do that twice. Like, not only could I not do it twice, but like, I was so much slower than I thought I was going to be by like 30 to 45 minutes probably for a 70.3. I was so bummed out. And like, all of this stuff was there. Like, it was about half the like elevation of Placid. Like, I was fit for it. Like, I thought I was fit for it. I was fit for Placid. But I like thought that fitness would translate in a different way for a 70.3. And I let that information tell me a whole bunch of untrue things about like my readiness for the race and my overall level of fitness and how hard it was going to be. Like, doing an Ironman is not as hard as doing a half Ironman twice. Doing a half Ironman twice would be horrifying.
Yeah, right. Because you've got like right. I mean, you're doing the thing that we say that you should never do, which is you're adding intensity and distance at the same time.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
And when you do an Ironman, sure, you add distance, but there's a commensurate step down in intensity.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
An Ironman fit person is not actually 70.3 fit. You're not set up for your best race ever. You may have a very good race, but you're not going to be the best 70.3 athlete that you could be.
So what you were experiencing in that case, and this is, I think we're going to return to this theme a lot, is a mismatch in goals and expectations.
Yes, absolutely. And probably some lack of information. And I probably could have gotten some better guidance in that scenario. Like,
and hence the endurance school.
The endurance school, detention.
Learn from our mistakes.
That's right. We've made them for you.
Exactly. There's a good question. Kirby just put a question in chat about strength training and fitness. I'm going to take a crack at this one. This could really be wrong. But the thing and I'm trying this out on you here, Molly.
Please.
The thing we're talking about is that, like, so if fitness is about fitting the event that's coming up, like you're building your ability to like fit into that event. Strength training isn't like a one-to-one part of like doing a triathlon, doing a 70.3 or whatnot. However, a lot like altitude training or heat training, proper strength training can amplify the work that you're doing that prepares you, that builds your fitness. So if you're doing your strength training, you're doing it effectively, it can make every single workout more effective, and it can get you to that place of fitness sooner, which is the thing that we're trying to do. Because if we can get there sooner, actually it means that we can do more, as long as we don't hurt you.
Exactly. That's pretty much in line with what I was thinking about that question. And especially the type of training that Kirby's doing, which is not like explosive power. It's not like heavy weights. It's much more about neuromuscular connection and foundational strength and, activation work. That kind of thing is going to keep you injury free. And it's going to allow you to participate in the training that is going to make you more fit, with more longevity and hopefully without incurring any of the damage that you can incur when you're not paying attention to that kind of technique and form and strength and stability. So hopefully what that is doing is allowing you to participate in the activities that will increase your fitness. In a way that like makes those activities, safer and more beneficial.
Yeah, I think that's I think we were approaching that the same way.
Yeah, I think we're both on the same side.
Yes,
High five.
Yes, good job.
Oh wait, other way.
Yeah.
High five.
Wait, over there?
Over this, no, other way. Wait. Oh wait, your hand's missing though because you're in the Zoom box. But you no.
Oh, right.
You did it right, but no one can see it.
Okay, so now like there's all these ways these days to track your sleep, track your whatever, track your recovery. what are some of the ways that people do like objectively, and I'm putting that in quotes intentionally, objectively track this concept called fitness?
So one of the things that we see a lot of, and that coaches actually do some of, is measuring some of the metrics in Training Peaks, in WKO, in some of the performance softwares that we use. I think those are pretty good objective measures of fitness. Caveat. I think and this actually goes to what Jenny said. She was talking about how at work they do goals and success measures. So I mentioned this before, but like I'm a huge nerd about monitoring and evaluation. That was my focus in public health. Like, is how do you measure whether or not you're achieving the thing that you are setting out to do? And one of the things that's frustrating about that is a lot of times people either measure something that they're not looking to do, or they're measuring something that doesn't actually have anything to do with what they were trying to do, and saying like, oh, I did A and B, so obviously that's why C didn't happen. I don't know. But anyway, so the problem with CTL and like TSB and all of the numbers that you see on Training Peaks, and the ones that sometimes athletes can sort of obsessively track, is that they can be full of garbage. And if you fill them full of garbage, they will tell you lies. The two biggest ways that I've seen them tell lies, I'm going to use Chris as an example, and I'm going to use, I don't know if I have anybody who I can use as an example for this one. Actually, myself. So right now I am trying to figure out how to use some of the data that we're getting as swimmers are coming back to the water and like training for swim again. And so I have been breaking one of our cardinal rules and wearing my watch in the pool. Because I want this data and I want to use it like in WKO to like I want to make charts and graphs. And so I need data. What Training Peaks does with a swim, though, that you've uploaded from your Garmin, is it takes out all of the rest breaks. So if you were in the pool for 50 minutes and you only swam for 25 of those, but you swam those 25 minutes pretty hard, it takes that whole 50-minute session as though you swam 25 minutes as hard as you possibly can. And then all of a sudden, the training stress score you get for that workout is like 150 or something. And then boom, your fitness goes up. Congratulations. High fives for everybody. Right, exactly. But that's not what happened. That's not the workout that you had. So what I've been doing is going through and like reassigning TSS scores to those workouts so that my numbers actually mean something to me. The problem that I was seeing with Chris's workouts is that if you measure something as a cross-country workout, it does not give you a training stress score. So Chris's fitness was looking a lot lower than it actually was, which is fine. Like the number assigned to his fitness isn't actually the number that is his fitness. But like I was interested in what kind of fitness we could expect him to have as part of the cross country training, and so I noticed that Chris probably noticed the same thing and started tracking his skis as bikes and then changing them to skis in Training Peaks. So that was Training Peaks hiding fitness and also Training Peaks giving fitness, and it's only as useful as you know what you're measuring. If that makes sense. That was a long-winded response.
No, so yeah, no, I mean, I think that's it exactly, is that those are two like very advanced responses. And I think something that we see with like people who are new to Training Peaks, when you open a Training Peaks account, Training Peaks assumes that your FTP is 250 watts.
Congratulations.
Nice work. Like, bravo. So like, in like Molly, in your case, like your threshold is like 190 watts. And then in somebody else's case who has like a 300 watt threshold, in like your workouts are going to look insane.
Yes.
Like you're going, like every time you go into a, like a hard threshold ride, Training Peaks is going to tell you that you went and did like
recovery spin.
Did a recovery spin. And every time like that 300 FTP person does a ride, they're going to get credit for like, an intensity factor of like 120% of FTP for 3 hours. It's insane. It doesn't work. And so we get these like wildly inflated or underinflated numbers, um, and then you have to do, the coach or sometimes the athlete has to do the painstaking work of like going back through and like very carefully reassigning TSS numbers.
Exactly. Or as a coach, you may have an athlete who, like, you know where they are at this fitness. Like for me, like I know how fit you are at, like, in the middle of triathlon season when your CTL is a certain number. Like I know what that is. I know that for myself. I know that for my athletes. It's one of the benefits of working with a coach is that, like, you have somebody who has seen the way that you have progressed. And I want to put a pin on that progression thing, because that 190 watts is new. Like that's this year. And that's after a lot of time on the bicycle. I have been working really, really hard on my bicycle this year. So yeah, I'm very pleased with that. And it's new. So thanks guys. Hard one.
What are some other ways? So yeah, we look at, I think our final answer to that, what are some of the objective ways, is you and I do look at all that stuff like CTL, TSV, ATL. I think we look at it with a pretty strong grain of salt. Just yesterday we were talking about WKO. You and I have both like seen some wacky things happen. Sometimes it's simply because the measuring tool has like changed the measurement period.
Yeah.
And so I think the takeaway here is like objective measures are useful, but be careful.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And even as somebody who like knows that, it still hurt my feelings when I saw it, like, like there was, Chris and I use WKO, and we can see how somebody's FTP is progressing and like what their time to exhaustion is, but like it does require a little bit of feeding some metrics, and like it's not been an appropriate time for me to do a long duration test, and I would have definitely been really sad about that. And because of that, WKO knocked my FTP down by like 25 watts. And I like opened it up and was like, what happened? Like overnight. And it was literally overnight, because it was exactly like 90 days from my last like long duration test. And so I looked at it and I was like, oh no, like I'm the same person today, but I'm significantly less fit.
which like is totally understandable. And I think we go through this as athletes all the time, because like you have good days and bad days. And it's so easy to like fixate on both of them.
Yes.
That like a bad day means you're like that you're shit and you've always been shit. And that like a good day means that you're, amazing and right, exactly.
Right. You could expect it forever.
Yeah, right. And so I mean these are so one of the things we're kind of getting at today is like trying to assemble a bunch of different frameworks. So like staying with objective, but like what are some slightly less like techie things that we can do to still look at numbers but kind of assess fitness?
Well, FTP is a favorite of many people's. But Chris, this is one that we've been talking about quite a bit as actually, especially with your FTP. So like, can you tell us a little bit about some of your recent FTP experiences?
I mean, yeah, I think so. I mean, it's been up and down a lot over the course of the last 9 months.
I'm thinking specifically about the result of your 2x30.
Oh, okay, got it. Yes. Yeah, I was like, okay, yeah, we can do this.
What are we talking about?
Yeah. I mean, it fits. Like FTP, your FTP should fluctuate, everybody, over the course of a year. Like midsummer, it should be high-ish. Like winter, like it's probably lowish. But anyway, one of the metrics that Molly and I use a lot in WKO, and we're starting to use it in other places, and really it's nothing new or fancy, but it's just called time to exhaustion. And it's an estimate of how long you could ride at your threshold before you had to slow down. And it's a really nice updating of the like incredibly inaccurate, you can hold your FTP for 60 minutes. There's just, yeah, I mean, you only have to drill down a little bit on that to be like, this doesn't make any sense. So we put a lot of people through a progressive build where you were riding at like sweet spot intensity, so like 90% of FTP, at longer and longer time frames. And Molly gave me a workout recently that was 2 by 30 minutes of sweet spot. Um, it's hard.
You're
All of you are gonna
welcome.
thank you. No, I love it. Like I really like that stuff. That's like that's my kind of session.
Hmm.
Like like ooh, hundreds in the pool, 800s at the track, anaerobic capacity work on the bike. No, thank you. But give me 2 by 30 of like sub threshold stuff, and I'm very happy. Like that's what I was put on this bicycle to do.
We're different people.
Yeah, which is cool. I mean, that's so cool that like that two very different physiologies and mindsets can still have success at different kinds of endurance capacity.
Hmm.
So awesome.
Hmm.
That's why I think we do this.
Yep.
um, and so by doing the 2 by 30, my time to exhaustion as estimated by WKO jumped from 45 minutes or so to out to around 57. And the reason for that is because it's not because I did 2 by 30 minutes that my physiology, sort of like your FTP, it's not like overnight you didn't drop 25 watts, like, and that WKO magically pulled that out of, the electrons in your apartment.
It's mean.
It's it's because you do work that then is reflected in the data collection. And so it was one of those things where we trained and trained and trained and then got to see the results coming out of it, versus the other approach, which I think we see athletes do a lot of, which is they're like, hey, like I want that 400-watt FTP. Let's do everything we can to make that happen.
Absolutely. And I think that's actually like for where we are right now, like your FTP at that time to exhaustion is a robust FTP. Like we can do a lot with that. Like it gives us a lot of information about what kind of power, what percentage of power you can sustain over what duration of time. I'm very proud of my FTP right now, but it's not super durable. Like my time to exhaustion is not that long. So like it's new, and part of what we're doing right now and part of the reason why we're talking about this is that if your time to exhaustion is moving out and you're not seeing your FTP come up, which is certainly going to be where I am for the next several months. Like I will probably see a longer time to exhaustion at about the same FTP without seeing much in the way of FTP gains. Chris is probably going to see some FTP gains and some time to exhaustion shrinking at this point because like that's the part of the work that we're moving into. But what we're looking for here is an FTP that is like durable and robust, that like allows us to do the work that we want to do as endurance athletes and doesn't just make us feel proud of ourselves.
Yeah, like I think for everybody we work with, we would take a FTP that is significantly lower than where it was at like midsummer fitness, but a time to exhaustion that's significantly longer.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
And I
absolutely.
think the only reason your time to exhaustion isn't longer at the moment is that we haven't given you a workout that would reflect it yet.
That's possible.
Yeah.
That sounds
I mean,
hard.
it's
I don't think.
I think that's one of the things we're talking about tonight is that like part of fitness is an act of faith.
That's right.
It's the confidence and belief that the work that you've done is going to appear on not appear on race day, but be available for expression.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. Like what are let's get into like some of our favorite like ways to talk about fitness. Like what are some subjective ways that we track fitness?
So my favorite is RPE. I think that there are kind of two caveats, two asterisks to this one, but like I think that one of our favorite things to give athletes is it's real boring work, like real like the bread and butter endurance-y stuff, like the stuff that's like, all right, sit on your bicycle and ride it for 75 minutes, like have fun with that. We love it on Thursday mornings because it means we have like no cues to give. So like we can just chat through the whole thing. It's like if you're doing the 75-minute endurance ride, keep going. But one of the reasons why we do those is because they're excellent. They're both great for building the type of fitness that you need for endurance training and racing, but they're also great ways to measure fitness improvements. So if you are using the RPE function of Training Peaks, we can see if a workout has, like, if your FTP has stayed the same, and like, let's say we're not using WKO, we don't know anything about what your FTP actually is. You did a 20-minute test and like we assigned something. Let's say that you held 140 watts over the course of your 75-minute endurance spin. And your RPE the first time you did it was 8. And then a month later, you did the exact same workout, held exactly the same number of watts, but your RPE number was 3. Like, that is a huge increase in fitness. Something has happened there. You've gotten stronger. That said, the response is probably going to be that we need to like change your FTP or change the watts that you're riding at. No matter how fit you get, like if I give you like Chris, if I give you a VO2 max workout, what is your RPE going to be on a scale of 1 to 10?
9.
Okay.
And then 10.
And then 10, and then right, and then 0
Right.
because of lying on floor. So take a guess. Like let's say you did a VO2 max workout. I'm just going to extrapolate for funsies. Chris's FTP is always 400 for the state of this for the state of this story.
Not true.
So so let's say I tell Chris to go out and ride his bicycle at 480 watts. It's 120% of FTP, I think, if I'm mathing right in my head. His bicycle is going to be covered in tears. So like let's say that he did that. It was a 9 out of 10. It hurt really, really bad. And then a couple months later, he got fitter. His FTP went up. I gave him the same workout, but this time at 500 watts. Have fun, Chris. And it was still a 9 out of 10. Like, what happened there? Is Chris just not very good at working hard? What happened, Chris?
I mean, this is the summation of the great truism in endurance sports is that it never gets easier. You just go faster.
That's right.
Or if not faster, you become more efficient. Like things happen, but it never ever gets easier. People who have been doing it for a while make it look easier. But they are suffering just as much. And like, it's funny, we asked Ryan Bolton about metabolic efficiency last time that we talked to him, and he was like, yeah, like that's just another word for getting fit. And like, it was just such a wonderful answer that like this deeply physiological thing is really just another expression of getting fitter. And Sam Long, who is probably incredibly metabolically efficient, suffers just as much as somebody who is new to the bike.
I think that's absolutely right.
And you've recently had an experience with this. So last year you had a goal of you wanted to break 7 minutes on a mile.
I did. I really did.
And you did it. You ran sometime last year. I think you ran a 6:59.
That's right.
You ran one of them. You were pretty stoked. What was your RPE for that mile?
That's 1,000.
Exactly. Yeah. Broke the meter.
It was so hard.
Recently, you ran 4 1600s with only 90 seconds rest in between, all of them under 7 minutes.
Yeah.
And so this is a case of, was your RPE 1,000 for every one of those?
No, it was like 7.
Right. Yeah. Like null set, right?
Yeah.
No, it doesn't compute.
Yeah.
Like, can't do 4 1 mile repeats at 1,000 RPE.
No.
And so what happened?
I got fitter.
Right.
Yeah. So I think a couple of really big things happened. So I love coaching. I love training. I love like the science and the stuff that goes on behind it. I have not necessarily prioritized my own athletic success, and I think that's been that's been a decision that I've made in favor of grad school. It's been a decision that I've made in favor of like not really liking who I was when I first started racing. Like I didn't handle competition all that well. Like it really stressed me out. I didn't like that. And I think I've gotten a lot better at that as I've gotten older. Like I started racing 15 years ago, 16. I don't know. I was young and dumb back then. So like I'm older and much cooler now. So yeah, it's racing, and my own racing is now something that like I'm really having fun with and really enjoying. And this is the first time that I have not taken an extended break after a season of training. So like I took the couple of weeks that like you're supposed to take, and instead of like really easing back in like I usually do, like just kind of like whatever for the first couple months, like just get out and train, like do the brunch ride, like ride to the coffee shop, like just do it for fun. Like I got right back into it this year for the first time. Like I got right back into training. And it has exactly the same effect on me that it has had, that I've told other people it will have on them. It makes you much, much fitter. I carried over a lot more fitness from last year into this year, and the time and the experience in the sport and all of that stuff like combined, I think, to mean that at 41 years old, I ran my fastest mile ever. What?
Oh, is it over there? No, it's that.
It's over here. No, wait, it's here.
There.
No, other way. But your hand is lost. You have to move it closer to your head. There, you're perfect. Do it. Perfect.
Perfect. Yeah, like that stair step effect from season to season is crucial.
Yep.
You know, it's so easy to think, it's so easy to just get focused on one season at a time. And like your development, if you think about it in a bigger picture, is like you are always accruing fitness, especially if you don't take the monster break.
Yes.
You know, that's a hard thing for people to hear sometime. But that's the reason why, like, pick a different sport for a little while, do some skate skiing, do some, you know, like the bedrock fitness is of that, just like of doing more heartbeats, like
Oxygen
do
in.
as many heartbeats. Yeah, do as many heartbeats as you can, run as much oxygen as you can through that system. That's, I think that, I mean, we would take that over, like, we love our metrics for sure, but like if you run more oxygen through the system this year than you did last year, you're going to be more fit.
Absolutely. And to what Kirby was saying earlier with the strength training, that is the other big thing that's changed for me this year, is that I'm doing the PT and the stuff that keeps me from getting hurt. Like I have a glute strain every year. And every year it keeps me from running for months. It's almost like, and this year I've been doing the PT for it, and like I haven't had it. It's like it works to prevent that stuff. Like, and I do, every time I go out and run, I do those like stupid runner's touches and all this stuff that like looks dumb outside. I do it every time now. And it keeps you from getting hurt. And if you are able to continue, you will get faster. But Chris, I think that's another thing. We're running out of time, but I want to get to one of the most important things here. Like, how do you get there faster?
You can't.
How? Why not?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I wish I had better news for you. That actually, if you try to short circuit the system, you're going to make things worse. You'll make things better in the short term for sure. And there's so many ways out there. Like, if you find anything that has hack in the title, maybe steer clear of it. Give it a strong look. Don't just reject it out of hand. Maybe they're onto something that we've never seen before. But the time crunched athlete, like there was like a real buzz of this maybe about 10 years ago. It was right when all like CTL and TSB like really started to move into the general parlance. And since like TSS training was like, oh sweet, like all we have to do is ramp up the intensity and we get a higher TSS score. If we have a higher TSS score, our CTL goes up. Awesome. So let's just train 4 hours a week as hard as possible. And a lot of the coaches we've talked about have talked about this idea that you can only build a pyramid as tall as you've made the base wide. And this is something you and I talk to about athletes all the time. where they are wanting to do FTP work all the time, high intensity work all the time, Swift racing all the time. We're like, great, you are going to make a medium tall but very shaky column of
Mm-hmm.
fitness rather than, as you were saying earlier, this robust and durable base that allows you to do things for a really long time. If you can do things for a really long time, you're gonna be able to build the higher intensity stuff on top of it. But I'm really sorry to say that there's really there's no way to get there faster except to make as few detours as possible. And detours are like getting hurt, burning out, um, destroying your relationships around you because you're only focused on training and then having to deal with the fallout of that. Um, like really the quickest way to fitness is to set up your life in a way that allows you to stay on the path.
Absolutely. And I think that people put so many parameters on where they think they can go. And I think that that's another thing to remember is like in this sport, your development takes the better part of a decade if you're lucky and committed. Like
Yeah.
if you are, most people are nowhere near their VO2 max. And I think that, people who like have a God-given VO2 max that's super, super high, like thanks mom and dad, sweet genes, like I'm super pumped about this. Those people are close to like training and racing at their like maximum aerobic capacity only if they have been doing this and doing this very seriously for a very long time. Most of us are nowhere close to our potential. And don't put like limitations on your fitness or expectations on your fitness because you may very well surpass them. The only way that you are going to not surpass them is by trying to like look for the same signs that aren't actually indicative of progress and put too much priority on those signs as being predictive of success, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we see this all the time with like the high intensity training fads that show up all the time. Like, and they work for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're, and then you're stuck in a system that worked once and you're just trying to figure out why isn't it still working? And the reason it's not working is because you're no longer committed to that long, like that long building of fitness that allows you to reach heights that you had no idea. Um, I think the reason that we see, it's so easy to like see like a 20-year-old athlete and be like, oh, like it's so easy for them. A lot of the time, like that athlete has been in the pool for 15 years at that point. Like Terenzo Bissone was like a great example of this. World champion at 13.
Right?
Yeah. And like, and like really by the time he's 29, like was really had a very mature racing period behind him. It always takes so much longer than what is visible. It's the classic story of the like, oh, that's like the overnight success that took 10 to 15 years to make happen. And it's one of the frustrating things about our sport is that it's so easy to like look at those people and be like, why can't I do that? And it's like, well, you can, like, you can achieve amazing things. You just go more heartbeats.
Yeah.
Just get as many as you can.
And do most of them easy. Like do most of your work easy
Yeah.
and then a little of your work very hard. And rest as hard as you can. That's the last takeaway. There is one secret ingredient. It's a secret. Don't tell anybody. Go take a nap. Sleep hard, rest hard, fuel well, like take care of your body so that your body gets strong from the work that you're doing. Because if you are just beating yourself down and running the machine into the ground, you're not going to see the success. And that is heartbreaking because people work so hard. So to not like see the benefits of that work is, I think, one of the bigger tragedies of the sport. And it's one of the things that bums us out every time we see athletes who have worked hard and not achieved their goals. Rest hard, eat your Wheaties.
and it is exactly 6 p.m. on the nose. That was
That
amazing.
was
Incredible
amazing.
wrap up. We need to get like a bell,
Yeah, or a
you know,
hook.
definitely a hook. I don't know how we're going to do that. I mean, the hook is then going to also finally necessitate some kind of producer, or like a mechanical contraption.
Or like an animation.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, I think I can do it.
I want like a Muppets-esque like broken hook that's going to like like judder in from the outside, and
It's
I'm,
always
I'm
got to
sure
be the
her
Muppets. Yeah, it's not going to be
they
good.
they nailed it the first time.
They did. They did. It was an excellent product.
Yeah. All right, everybody. We are going to get out of here. We both have a late bus to catch. As always, thank you for being here. Thank you for your cheers. Thank you for your questions. We are going to see you all next on Thursday. Where are we going?
We're going to
Where are we?
Zwiftland.
I know. Are we
You
Wato? I think we're
chose.
Wato. I think we're Watopian
You always
again.
choose
That's
Watopia, I
I
think.
always pick Watopia.
Yeah.
Um, so please come and join us Thursday morning, 6:30. If you haven't gotten an invitation but you want one, make sure that you follow Chris and Molly
Both of us.
on Zwift Companion app, and reach out. And thank you everybody for being here. Molly, take us out.
All right. We will see you Thursday. Here is to a happier and faster tomorrow. Bye, guys.